Ladies and gentlemen, I am certain that this movie is clearly made for someone. I am also 100% positive that I am not that person. That being said, this has to be one of the absolute weirdest movie experiences of my life, and I'm not quite sure how to process it. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
Five Nights at Freddy's 2 picks up 1 year after the events of the first film, with the events that took place at Freddy's becoming a local legend. Mike and Vanessa have managed to keep the truth about the animatronic secret, and Mike's little sister Abby's desire to reconnect with her friends sets off a new series of terrifying events. Okay, so as I stated with the first Five Nights at Freddy's movie, which I didn't like by the way, I don't know jack shit about the source material, and I still don't. I think I could have benefited from watching the first film again before watching this one, because I clearly do not remember anything about the first one. Then again, I didn't really want to subject myself to watching two of these movies in 1 week, so I decided to go in blind.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
And let me be very clear when I say this. I can only assume diehard fans of Five Nights at Freddy's will get something out of this movie that I didn't, based on the reactions in my theater. And the reactions were basically like a peak MCU crowd, but turned up to 11. Remember all those videos of people acting crazy in the Minecraft screenings? It was kind of like that, minus the throwing of the popcorn, because I guess we have to draw the line somewhere. I mean, people were literally clapping and screaming for every scene, every character introduction, every time a character came back after being away for a moment. It was like being at a birthday party that you were not invited to. I felt kind of awkward even being there.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
So apparently, if you have some knowledge of the source material, it is entirely possible that this might be the greatest movie ever made in your eyes. As someone who is almost completely oblivious to everything Five Nights at Freddy's, this was easily one of the dumbest movies I've ever watched. This very much feels like an if you know then you know type movie, and if you don't know, you're probably old and you're probably gonna hate it. If you based your opinion on Five Nights at Freddy's purely on what you see in this movie, I'm not entirely sure you could figure out who this movie is actually made for. I mean, it is a PG-13 horror film, so a lot of the violence and gore is off-screen. But there were a couple of moments where I felt like members of the crowd that were really enjoying this movie were actually a bit too young to be watching it. It's all at the parents' discretion, of course, but this is easily, without a doubt, one of the weirdest movies I've ever tried to figure out. And I don't know if this is a reference to the game itself, but the plot, if you actually want to call it that, of the movie is damn near nonsensical.
What the hell am I looking at? When does this happen in the movie?
In fact, half the time while I was watching this movie, I wasn't even 100% sure what was going on, and not because it's too complicated to follow. It's just because this script feels so underdeveloped, so erratic, that it's difficult to figure out what exactly the movie is about, what the motivations of the characters are, and what I'm supposed to care about. And it doesn't help that the movie feels like a series of cliches that has kind of been haphazardly thrown together that makes you wonder while watching it. Did the people involved with making this movie know that it was a piece of shit when they were making it? You have to believe that they did. And just banking on the idea that people are going to watch this movie no matter what, because of the name. Vanessa, our lead character in this film, is the daughter of Matthew Lillard's character from the first film. And it's made very clear that she is a character with a lot of baggage, like a lot of main characters in modern horror films tend to have. But there's one moment in the film that was so out of left field that I'm pretty sure it was only included so they could bring Matthew Lillard back.
I'm feeling woozy here.
She pretty much just lays in her bed and turns on the TV static and takes this vision quest back to her childhood so we can see how much of an asshole nutjob her father was. But didn't we kind of already know that based on the first film? And it's kind of wild that they got Matthew Lillard back for a scene like this only to make the scene dog shit and waste his certifiably unhinged talents. And oh, by the way, Skeet Ulrich is in this film as well to complete the original Ghostface reunion, even though they don't actually share a scene together, which again does feel like kind of a missed opportunity. Oh, and by the way, his character and his scene are both poorly written and poorly acted as well. And then we have Josh Hutcherson as Mike, who has the charisma of a wet blanket in this film. His only real contributions are complaining about not being able to make his sister happy over her longing to reconnect with possessed animatronics, and he also does some incredibly simple computer hacking work that he makes way more difficult than it has to be while being stalked by some animatronics.
I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know I'm doing it really, really well.
And then we have Abby, his sister, who is probably one of the most frustrating characters that I've seen on screen in some time. Just a little bit too gullible and easily manipulated for my liking. I just didn't buy into her at all. Two things that I will give this film credit for are the practical effects animatronics, which I thought looked great. And I did think the visual of the marionette-possessed children in the film were quite creepy, even if they did use a little bit too much obvious CGI to bring them to life. Outside of that, there just wasn't a lot of substance or things to speak of in general about this film. The horror elements were underwhelming and predictable, with some of the laziest jump scares you will ever see. Even the motive of the main villain and the reveal attached to it at the end of the film felt uninspired and lazy.
How can you not care?
Like this.
I mean, I was personally bored for 95% of this film's runtime. If you enjoy Easter eggs and references, and you have some knowledge of the game, then you get a little bit more entertainment value out of it. But if you have no idea what any of these references are referencing, then you're probably not going to get much out of it. I honestly didn't think I could get less interested in Five Nights at Freddy's after the first film, and somehow the second film is even worse. I just found out as I was writing my review that the video game franchise creator wrote this movie instead of an actual film screenwriter, and now everything kind of makes sense. This feels like an extension of a video game that the audience who is watching it might not have even played. When taking a property into a different medium, it's always best to kind of alter your approach so you can appeal to diehards and casuals alike. And this is very much a movie that is targeted strictly to the diehards, but it forgets to set up compelling characters and stories to establish this world with the normies. I think the cinematic version of this franchise would have been better suited letting an actual screenwriter write the script with the original creator working as a consultant. And they didn't do that, so what we are left with is something that I believe barely qualifies as an actual movie. It feels more like a greatest hits compilation that most people won't even understand. As a game that people have played for years, all of this might be amazing, but as a film, this is just simply not working. And it's never going to work unless you start approaching the material like you are making a movie and get out of your video game creator mentality. To me, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is easily one of the worst movies of the year from a filmmaking perspective, and that's why I'm going to give it the Disgusted Ian Malcolm.
That is one big pile of shit.
Y'all be cool. Right on.